One day you will get to actually use the dice tower, but until then, you get to pick 3 numbers, 1 through 8. So what is your first number?
7.
This one's wrap gifts. What is the most memorable wrap gift you've ever received or given?
When we were coming to the end of shooting Maxine, I got the crew an ice cream truck. So the ice cream truck came to set and everyone was able to get like a really nice ice cream or a milkshake or whatever they wanted. But I've also been given really amazing gifts in the past, but I just can't think of anything right now.
Oh, that's totally fair. I feel like ice cream wins everything. I respect that answer so much. All right, you got your second number of 3. We've got a 7. What is another number?
2.
I love this one. Can you tell me your single favorite part of the acting process? So, like rehearsing, putting a costume on for the first time, something like that. But then I also want not necessarily your least favorite, but a part of the process where you still see room to grow for yourself.
My favorite part of acting, I would say, is between action and cut. I don't even know what to say. I just love it so much. It's unlike anything unlike anything else I know. I don't think that like when you're on set, I really don't think that that's what you get paid to do. That's the reward. You get paid to kind of wait. You get paid when the schedule gets changed when you're at the last minute. You get paid when you have to figure out how to do one scene that you thought you were going to do in the morning and now you're all of a sudden doing another one. Like those are but the actual work, when you're like opposite your actor and it's working, there's nothing like it.
That's such a beautiful answer. I feel like you just baked the other half of that question into that answer too. So I'm assuming you're not a fan of, like the waiting and the not doing.
Well, I mean, if you can use that time productively, it can be quite useful. I would say that the part of the job that I'm still working on is probably this part. This part feels very... I always get very socially awkward in this part of the job, which is required and it's kind of an essential part of it. But I still feel very socially awkward when doing it, and it's strange to talk about the process and it's strange to talk about the work. But yeah.
The strangeness I definitely understand, because it's also part of the reason why I love asking questions about acting is it's because it's a craft that I can't fully wrap my brain around, let alone articulate. So the fact that you have to answer questions about how you work and put it in a way that, like an outsider can feel and understand, that's not easy to do in general.
Yeah, I struggle to make sense of it too. So you do a lot of work and you have rituals that you do and you put the prep in and you put the work in and you think about it and you do whatever kind of, exploration is necessary. But then you really hope for something that you haven't thought of, that you haven't planned, that kind of transcends all that work into something more spiritual, is the hope. And to put that into words is tricky. You're trying to put into words something that it's very tricky.
No, I can definitely see that. I understand. All right, you have one more number to pick in Dicey Questions. Where are we wrapping this up?
5.
I put this back in the rotation recently. I love this question. We call it the little things. Can you tell me something really tiny that makes you happy? Something that someone else out there might say, like, that's silly or trivial, but it brings you joy on a regular basis.
I would say a tiny little thing. Hearing my daughter's footsteps running around.
That makes me so happy.
Makes me really happy too. I know I won't always hear that sound. It's such a fleeting moment. Those little footsteps running around. I really love that sound.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back for a brand new edition of Collider Ladies Night with a favorite. I have a returning guest. It's Mia Goth. Congratulations. I cannot believe we have a trilogy of films like this. It is something else.
Yeah, I know. It's surreal. I remember talking to you in Toronto in person for Pearl, and I mean, I could never have anticipated us talking again for this third movie, and that's now become a trilogy. It's all very surreal.
I feel like you secretly knew at the time. I think I asked you, could we get more? And you told me maybe not the most accurate answer at the time, which I respected because it preserved the surprise for me.
But honestly, we didn't know. We didn't know for a while. Ty had written the script, but there was still a bunch of hurdles that we had to get through until Maxine started to feel very real. I remember up until maybe we shot in April, and I called Ty in February, and I said to him, I was like, Ty, this isn't happening, is it? And he's like, well, I didn't want to call you because I didn't want to stress you out, but now it's happening. But there's a lot going on in the background for a while. So yeah, the fact that it happened is great.
Can you tell me one thing about your approach to the work that has stayed the same since day one, but then also can you name a newer acting technique that you've tried for the first time more recently?
It's funny because in some ways it's changed a lot, and in other ways it's stayed quite similar. Probably like something that stayed true the entire time is what the goal is of the scene, what the goal is of the job, of the craft, is to make it as honest and as real as you possibly can, and to root that in truth. And if it doesn't feel right, don't relent. Don't just move on because it's the easy thing to do. Do whatever it is you need to do to fight for the truth of the scene. And then I would say maybe something that's changed, is probably the way I go about that. Maybe my techniques and the way that I approach the work, the way that I approach my relationships to my to the other actors that I'm working with. I'm more confident, so I have, I'll just do different things. I think I used to be quite intimidated on set, and I'd be, and I would, feel like I couldn't do certain things, but now I'll just do whatever I need to do to make sure that the scene is going to work. And probably, and also like my confidence as a performer is probably something that has changed a lot too. I remember even talking to you when we were filming, when we were talking about Pearl, and I just feel like I was in such a different place then too. I don't really know if that answers your question.
Oh no, it definitely does.
Yeah.
Oh, I could follow up on that too. When you were first starting out and maybe didn't have that confidence in yourself yet, had there ever been someone who, I don't know, made you feel like your voice was valued, made you feel safe actually to take big swings, where it started to push you in that direction of having that confidence in your craft?
Well, I think just by the very fact that Lars von Trier picked me to be a Nymphomaniac was a huge confidence boost. And really that whole experience of working on Nymphomaniac kind of became the entire blueprint for my career and the kind of filmmakers that I wanted to work with and the sorts of actors that, I hope to be like one day, and that I wanted to work with that caliber of actor. And this was one of the greatest experiences of my life, making that movie.
Pretty high bar to set so early on, and I love it. I wanted to follow up on something we were talking about during our last ladies' night, because as a notorious overthinker, I can't think of a good answer to this. We were talking a little bit about the end credits in Pearl, and I think I asked you what was going through your mind while you're filming that, and you were telling me it's less about thinking. So when you're on a set, what is the key to, I guess, quieting your mind and embracing feeling in the moment versus thinking?
Yeah, I mean, the last thing you hope is happening when you're in a scene is thinking. If you're thinking, the scene is completely dead, and you should just call cut and just start again, because it's never going to work. I think, a lot of times that's what prep is for. I don't really know how much of your prep is actually applicable in the moment. I don't know. Sometimes it is, sometimes not so much. But one thing it does every single time is just calm your mind. There's so much pressure going on to a set. You're not on a set every day. So there's this sacred nature to being there, and how special it is to be making another movie. So, having that prep behind you and knowing, okay, well, I did this, and that. I spoke to that person. I went here, I went there, I read this, listened to that. I got this playlist. I got this in my pocket. I don't know how much it actually ends up helping, but it does calm your mind. So then you can kind of have all that prep and that time that you put into it and then just let it go. And then that allows you to be present.
Hearing you lay it out like that, it makes all the sense in the world, because that's exactly how I prepare for these interviews. I prep, and know my roadmap, and then never look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's another thing I really wanted to follow up on that we were talking about last time, and this fact still blows my mind. We were talking a little bit about how X marked your first lead role in a feature film, which in my mind felt like it happened much sooner. It actually didn't. So after the X and Pearl 1-2 punch, did you kind of feel like the doors burst open? Are you getting the steady stream of lead opportunities that you deserve now?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I'm working on higher profile movies. I mean, at the moment I'm working on Frankenstein with Guillermo del Toro and you know, on Blade with Mahershala Ali. So you know, that's a whole new level of that is new to me. And then it's just, you know, it's made me very picky, and now that, you know, I have my daughter, you know, the project has to really speak to me on many levels, and it has to be a no-brainer. I have to do it in order to, you know, put the time and the energy that is required, because it takes up, you know, if it's done right, it should take up everything. So it really has to mean something.
For what it's worth, the movies you're picking mean so much to me. Guillermo, I'll get to this a little later, but Guillermo del Toro is hands down like one of my favorite people in this industry and the world. Just one of the guys with like the biggest beating hearts I know.
He really does. He really does.
So I want to ask a general question about horror, because at this point, between these three movies, you've got Suspiria, Infinity Pool, probably more than I'm not thinking of right now. You are like a certified horror queen, horror scream queen, whatever you want to call it, a genre icon. What does, I guess, Scream Queen mean to you? The fact that you have earned that title amongst the fandom?
I mean, I don't really know what a Scream Queen means. I don't know. I never really use that term for other actresses. I've definitely heard it a lot in passing when, and I know that sometimes they describe me like that. I guess it just means an actress that's working in the horror genre. It's it's tricky. I don't really know how to talk about that, because on one hand, I feel so embraced by the horror community and the genre community in general. And it's something that I really welcome and I'm really grateful for, you know, that X and Pearl and Maxine in particular have, you know, resonated with people as much as they have. But then on the other hand, you know, I see myself as just an actor, you know, and I happen to come across these roles that just so happen to exist in this genre. But you know, when I'm working on the roles and preparing the roles and really in the scenes too, I'm just kind of, in my head, I'm just in like a family drama. And then there's everything else that comes later with the edit and the cut and, you know, how they market it and all of that. That kind of, it's a tricky thing. I'm also blown away by the types of roles that I come across. You know, that's another thing. Sometimes I think to myself, no, I'm not going to do another horror movie. I'm going to wait for something else to come along. And then, you know, I'll end up reading a script and it happens to be a genre movie, but this role is just extraordinary. And I'm like, how could I give that to someone else? I couldn't. So then I go and I do it and I have an incredible time. I learn so much and I'm very happy that I did it.
I know your range is endless, but as a horror fan, first and foremost, I'm very happy to keep you in this space as long as you would like to be in it. All right, let's get into Maxine specifically right now. I'm not sure how much you thought about this, but if you did, what is the biggest difference between what you pictured Maxine's future looking like after wrapping X and what it wound up being in Maxine?
In my head, as she's getting into that car and she's the sole survivor of that massacre and she's, you know, doing her little bump of coke and she's driving off into the sunrise, I kind of imagined her future maybe a little darker. I wasn't, you know, I was really I appreciated how Ty made her as fearless as she is. You know, she didn't die on that farm along with everyone else, but she did have to die a little bit in a way. She had to let go of that version of herself, and she's in that car, and I think she makes a decision in that moment that she's gonna go to Hollywood. She realizes how brief life can be, how quickly it can be taken from you, and it's very much a sink or swim moment where she's either gonna let that completely destroy her, can be totally traumatized by it, or she's gonna just shed that version of her and she's gonna create a new identity and she's just gonna move forward, and that's what she does. And I appreciate that Ty took it in that direction.
She definitely does that. One thing that I really appreciated in Maxine that I guess I kind of wasn't expecting, given the fact that I view her as a character with like maximum confidence and authority. I loved how the events of X haunted her throughout Maxine. I thought that really humanized her in like a really meaningful and relatable way, I guess. Can you tell me a little bit about your conversations with Ty, just in terms of figuring out how she needed to carry that with her and how it would influence her throughout the new movie?
I don't really know if we spoke about that all that much. And if we did, it wouldn't have been a lot, because I don't really remember a conversation like that. Our relationship, our working relationship, has evolved quite a lot through the three movies, and so by the time we got to Maxine and we were in discussions for that, it was more about the world and making sure that we were in the same movie, and then everything else, my prep, my understanding, and what I wanted to bring to the character, he kind of just let me be. He was, it was I guess at that point, by the time we were filming Maxine, his direction felt more like guardrails, and everything else, you're just making sure that I was in the right lane. But that was pretty much it. And other than that, I was kind of left to my own devices, which is really, I think, the marker of a great director is you pick who it is you want in your movie, but then you kind of just let them find it.
Mm-hmm. Someone who trusts their team. I think that's such a great quality, a necessity for any director to have. As the lead in this, you also need to have lots of trust in the people around you. And I'll admit, I have one very specific answer myself to this question, but I want to know your answer too. Of all of the actors around you in Maxine, is there any specific one that helped you unlock a new quality in her?
Maybe Liz Bender, played by Elizabeth Debicki, who is fantastic in the movie. I've always been a fan of her work, and I was very excited to see what it is she was going to do on set, and I was absolutely blown away by her. And when my character Maxine meets her and starts spending time with her, she it's really the first female role model that she has in her life, and it has a real lasting impact on her. And I think it's really informative, and she gains a lot from that relationship. Whereas all the other relationships in Maxine's world pretty much is kind of like a transactional relationship. They're kind of taking from her. Whereas, with Liz Bender, I think for once she's getting a lot out of her.
Liz Bender's one of the top ones on my list. I also loved your dynamic with Moses. I thought that friendship just got me to my core.
Yeah, I love Moses. Is another one in the movie too, who actually is in a transactional relationship. Those are probably the two. And I adore Moses. And that friendship, very little work was required there. I think he's such a wonderful person and so talented and very special, and it was very easy to film.
Those qualities leap off the screen while you're watching the movie. Here's a big career question that's inspired by something that's said in the movie. So you brought up Liz Bender, so my mind went here next. There's a point in the movie where she talks about how Puritan 2 will give her the opportunity to have a meaningful voice in Hollywood. So for you personally, what did you view as having a meaningful voice in this industry at the start of your career, and how has that definition evolved since?
I think in the beginning of my career, I was just kind of happy to be here. Just kind of happy to be in a movie. I'll just do whatever you give me. I'll be there. And I guess as time has progressed, I think I view myself as more valuable, and that I have more to give than just quote unquote being in a movie. I think that having this experience of working with Ty and being involved in the creative process from its very conception has shown me that I can have more agency over the creative process, and that having a meaningful voice can go beyond being an actor in a movie, but can involve screenwriting, and can you can take on a producer role, and you can have an input there, and so I guess that meaningful voice, it's become clearer, and it means more, and it's about more than just being happy to be here, but wanting to make great cinema.
Keep the great cinema coming. I need it. And I have a feeling you're going to do it with your next project. You've already brought up Frankenstein, so I'll briefly touch on that next, because again, Guillermo's one of my favorite people in this industry. I love all of his movies. I love the fact that his love of cinema is bleeding through the screen in every single movie he makes. So you've emphasized in this conversation and in the past that one of your favorite qualities in a director is that they trust the actor to do the job they're hired for. And I'm assuming he has that quality. But can you name something about Guillermo del Toro as an actor's director that makes him one of a kind?
I mean, there's so much. I don't know if I've ever seen a director be quite so at home and confident and calm on a set. And there's something really very reassuring about that as the actor on the other side of the camera. Someone that is just so totally at ease on his set. And these are huge sets, nothing that I've ever experienced before. And it's just like he's working from his living room. He's worked with the same people for 20, 30 years. It's, and even on such a scale like this, there's still like a very familial quality to it all. And as you might, be going through your own thing on set, you can kind of just look over to him and it centers you. And it's just been one of the greatest experiences I've ever had.
I love how you describe it as it's like he's working in his living room, and all I could picture is that he is then going to take that set that you worked on and actually put it in his living room.
He's all right. Yeah, I bet he would.
He definitely would. All right. We have to hit our last ladies' night question. I've been ending on this always, but it was entered into the rotation since we last talked. So you have not been given this question. Although now that I say that, I think it's a question well worth repeating with every project you do. In this industry, we give each other awards. I think that's super cool. We should keep doing that. I find that nobody tells themselves good job though. So I want to know something you accomplished making Maxine that you'll be able to look back on and say, I am so proud of what I did there.
It's a tricky one to
know. I started asking it because I found that I also have a hard time doing that. And the more inspiring answers I hear, the better I get. So I'm trying to spread that out in the world.
We filmed Maxine, and I had just had my daughter. And it was the first movie that I had done since giving birth. And that presented a whole set of challenges that I couldn't have anticipated. You go and you do your move, you shoot your scenes for the day, and then you go home, and then you take on the role of mum, and it's a lot to juggle. And I have so much respect for working mums, and it's something that I never really thought about all that much until I found myself in that position, and I guess I am proud that I was able to do the two, that I was able to do what I love, and then go home to my baby, and I guess I can say good job to that.
Oh, absolutely. My heart is full from that. And my movie loving heart is full from the fact that we have 3 films in the same franchise with a great through line, but where all 3 installments feel so incredibly distinct. That is one heck of an accomplishment. So, my God, congratulations on X, Pearl, and now Maxine. You brought it home so well.
Thank you, Perry. Lovely talking to you.